The facts matter.
Good evening, everyone. Virgo here. It is Tuesday, February 2nd. Happy Tuesday to everyone. And we are going to be taking a look at an interesting squatting scenario. So in Colorado Springs, Colorado, there was a man who actually was squatting in a property of a woman who had passed away. And he took it to court and attempted to try to get the judge to award him $400,000. I'm going to read you a little bit of what the story from the investigation says, and then I'm going to have you take a look at the news footage of it, because there's an interesting twist in here. So News 5 investigated a case where a squatter successfully sued a dead woman's family in court and had won. Earlier this year, we uncovered that Jack Cole, a felon, appears to have won a default judgment by filing fraudulent paperwork with the courts. Based on this evidence, a judge has granted a new hearing where Cole has his alleged process server and notary will answer questions. The case was initially set for July 10th, but has since been rescheduled for September 28th. In 2017, Wendy Clark, a Colorado Springs homeowner, passed away. For several months, her family fought with the courts to get access to her house and belongings after multiple random people moved in and then refused to leave. During the first quarter of 2018, the courts evicted the ringleader squatter Jack Cole and all other unidentified people. The Clark family thought they could finally move on with their lives, but that's not the case. Fast forward to 2019, Cole files a civil lawsuit against the Clark family. In his lawsuit, he claims his feelings were injured and he lost his social standing. El Paso County Judge David Miller entered a default judgment in his case because Wendy's sister Michelle failed to appear in court. Michelle claims she had no idea about the lawsuit until she received a default judgment letter in the mail. Evidence uncovered by News 5 Investigates backs up Michelle's story. It appears she was actually never served the paperwork. I opened up that letter to find out there's a default judgment entered against me. So at that point, everything kind of blew up, she said. I had to take the rest of the day off from work to find out what was going on. Cole's apparent scheme to fool the courts. News 5 uncovered that Cole had a fellow inmate, Roger Travis Rickard, get a bogus affidavit of service notarized showing the Clark family was handed paperwork for the lawsuit. A closer look at the document raises some serious questions. For one, Roger T. Rickard, the so-called process server, could not have possibly hand-delivered the paperwork to the Clark family in October of 2019, as he claimed. At that time, records show Rickard was serving time behind bars. Prisons and jails do not allow inmates to leave and go serve people papers. Also, the affidavit of service requires an address for where the paperwork was served. News 5 noticed the address given belongs to El Paso County Courthouse. On the day the lawsuit was allegedly served to Michelle Clark, she had no business being at the courthouse. She provided News 5 with records showing she was working at USAA. He knows how to work the system, Michelle said. He got away with everything from my sister's house without even getting a slap on the hand. He knows how to work the system to get what he wants, and that's exactly what he's doing right now. He's forging paperwork to win a civil lawsuit against me. The original judge who ruled in favor of Cole's case is moving forward with a hearing to get to the bottom of what happened. It's unclear whether Cole or Rickard will face any further consequences if they are found to have filed paperwork to fool the courts. This is a waste of taxpayer dollars running this through the courthouse, Michelle said. It's a waste of everyone's time, and it can destroy someone's life. They need to be held accountable and get charges and pay for what they've done. Now, there's a lot of previous coverage on this particular case that I'm not going to go into, but I will leave the link in the description so that you could follow it if you should like to. Here's the thing, folks. I'm going to show you the video, as promised, so that you can see what the news has to say about this. And then, when I come back, we're going to discuss this just a little bit further.
Right, now to a News 5 investigation. A squatter who successfully sued a Colorado Springs homeowner and won, about to head back to court. A new hearing was granted after Chief Investigative Reporter Eric Ross discovered the squatter likely filed fraudulent paperwork the courts and the judge overlooked. And as Eric explains, the judge now wants answers.
The squatter asked for more than $250,000 in damages to his feelings after he was evicted from squatting in a dead woman's house. In a surprising twist, he won his case against that family, a family which says they knew nothing about this lawsuit. Here's how it happened. This story dates back nearly 3 years, when Wendy Clark suddenly passed away in October 2017. Property records show she owned this home, which later became invaded by multiple squatters. The ringleader, Jack Cole, who the courts eventually evicted in the first quarter of 2018. Wendy's sister Michelle thought Mr. Cole would be gone and out of their family's lives, but she was wrong. Fast forward to today.
He won't leave us alone. He was trying to get my house, trying to get my property tax records. After he'd already tried to get my sister's, it just keeps going on. We've lost someone we love dearly, and we haven't been able to mourn her because it's one thing after the next.
Cole is currently in prison, but that didn't stop him from suing Wendy's family for more than $250,000. He claims he suffered mental anguish and loss of his social standing. He also claims his feelings were injured. Cole apparently came up with an elaborate plan to fool the courts to win his case, having a fellow inmate get a bogus affidavit of service notarized showing the Clark family was handed the paperwork for the lawsuit when they in fact had no clue about it. A closer look at the document raises serious questions. For one, Roger Travis Rickard, the so-called process server who allegedly hand-delivered the lawsuit, couldn't have because he was in jail at the time. Another discrepancy we noticed was that the lawsuit says it was served at, of all places, the courthouse. But on the day in question, Michelle was nowhere near the courthouse and had no business being there in the first place. Records show she was working at her job with USAA.
He's very conniving. He knows how to work the system. He got away with everything from my sister's house without getting even a slap on the hand for it. So he knows how to work the system and what he needs to do to get what he wants. And that's exactly what he's doing right now. He forged the paperwork and trying to win a civil lawsuit against me.
The original judge who ruled in favor of the squatter's case has granted a new hearing to get to the bottom of what we've uncovered. Meanwhile, Michelle says this case has taken a toll on her entire family.
I was in the process to possibly sell my home, buy a new home. That's been stopped at this point because I can't move forward with my life with this hanging over my head.
A court hearing now on the docket for September 28th, and if you've missed any of our previous coverage on this story, just head to our website KOAA.com and click on the News 5 Investigates tab. Always watching out for you. I'm Eric Ross, News 5 Investigates.
The biggest concern about this is that this is exactly what occurs when you have a party who files fraudulent paperwork and ends up being able to get it passed by a judge who simply isn't paying close enough attention. These are the hopes of the Moors that do the squatting and the SovCits that do the squatting, that it will be overlooked that a fraudulent UCC was filed or a fraudulent lien on the home was filed, and they'll get away with being able to successfully sue when in reality they haven't done anything right. It doesn't work very often, but these are the hopes. If we don't start pressing our lawmakers to move on these types of tactics and to stop this type of scamming and to put additional pressure on the courts to start giving bigger sentences, this is going to continue to be a problem. The reason why they want the courts overwhelmed and all gummed up is so that these types of things will be skipped over. This was a situation that was extremely sad. A family of a deceased woman attempting to try to collect her items and to be able to collect what's rightfully theirs has been held up from doing so since 2017 because a con artist who is also a felon sitting in prison was able to fool a sitting judge and get him to think that the property was rightfully his. This is just a wake-up call that we need to move forward with putting more pressure on our lawmakers and our law enforcement to ensure that we can stop these types of things from happening. Many states have now implemented criminal laws and felony charges against people who file false documentation through the Secretary of State's office, like fraudulent liens. But there are many that still need to catch up. It's time to start putting the pressure on. As we've all seen recently, it's a very dangerous concept to have these people in charge of anything. And if there gets to be too many of them, we're looking at a real dangerous scenario in this country. And let's face it, we already have a pretty serious one. We don't need it to get any worse. All right, everyone, I hope that you enjoyed this, and please share. Everyone needs to be aware of what's going on. This is something that happened in 2017, and it's currently going on right now. When these types of things happen, it takes years to get them straightened out. Imagine if it was your home. All right, everyone, have a great day. Bye-bye.